All right, let's try this. I'll try this approach, and maybe you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Somebody speak up in the chat on the YouTube. Let me know you can hear me now. Can anybody hear me? Somebody say one way. I don't know. Blah 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 blah. Blam 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 blam. My meters say I'm broadcasting. The meters say I'm broadcasting. The meters say I'm broadcasting. All right, thank you. Now that somebody is actually... All right, here we go. They finally won, I think. They're coming for your defenses. We got to talk in code now. They're coming for your defenses. They're coming for you. You watch what's going on in social media. This has reached a level of an insanity that I cannot even describe. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It is insane. What the hell happened? You know, I see all these children, not the Parkland people, and I'm afraid that possibly even saying Parkland will get your channel taken down, but you know, all these liberal children we've seen for the years with that angry face that you just want to smack the shit out of, that angry face, have taken over. How did that happen, man? How did that happen? It has to be you. It has to be all of us my age that let it happen. Has to be you, has to be me. How the hell did this happen? I mean, for the last week or so, you know, well, forget all that FBI investigation into Clinton and all that kind of stuff. That's gone. That is absolutely, completely, and entirely gone from all news media whatsoever. Everything in the media is about some form of gun control. They're not going to get everybody's guns. That's never going to happen. It's not even possible. There isn't enough law enforcement or even mailmen, if you include them, to pick up every gun in America. And why would they? Doesn't even make good sense. The states themselves make a fortune in gun owners because of hunting licenses. I mean, it's like a dumpster fire / tsunami of gun control stories flowing through your Facebook or my Facebook and Twitter. I don't watch Twitter at all. I could give a crap about Twitter. It makes no sense. You know, if you're on something whose character limit is less than even a minute thought, it's a waste of time. It just contributes to short mind syndrome, or not being able to control, or not being able to think more than, you know, what is it, 320 characters or some kind of business like that. Yeah, but the focus on gun control has caused, you know, the media and all the people that get their news from the mass media, that, you know, they're missing quite a bit of the larger scandal that's revolving around this high school and many others like it. Yeah, I'm not talking about the scandal of the 4 police officers that when the shooting began, they went and hid or chose to do nothing while waiting outside for backup because they were afraid of some kind of retard with a gun that were still a little bit hinky about what the hell was going on. It's not about the FBI scandal because, you know, they knew about the guy, because we have to talk code now. We can't say names or anything, or we'll get our shit handed to us, and our channel's knocked down if we say names because we're bullying. But I mean, his grotesque, you know, his desires for mayhem and violence. You know, local police went and visited him 39 different times for various episodes of violence and criminality. It's not about how a troubled young man, so clearly mentally and emotionally distressed, ran afoul of the law so often, who was still somehow able to pass a background check to purchase a firearm. Nope, that's not what this is about. This is what this is about. About 6 years ago in Miami-Dade County, just south of Broward, where the school district could not keep, you know, their numbers up in order to get the government funding, because now the way that the government works your funding is if you can't keep your ROT test scoring numbers up, you don't get enough money to manage your school, and you know, and it's a failing program. You don't get enough money to manage your school. You can't teach the children, and you know, you just basically go down. You know, it's kind of like jamming your own head up your own asshole. I mean, quite literally. So they disappear this. You know, so the kids that we're supposed to be teaching and educating, which should be first line of defense in America. First line of defense should be completely funded. There should be no funding issues. Should be no funding discussion. Didn't we start lotteries in absolutely every freaking state to fund schools? But yet, here's what happens. Okay, well, you know, the schools were getting funding from the government, from state taxes, property taxes, road taxes, all that kind of stuff. But what they did is they started all these lotteries, and then they would partially fund the schools, but they took away all the stuff that me and you that own any kind of property, they have to pay school taxes. All that crap went away. They used the lottery funding first, and then everything else later, and then make all these decisions of how to properly fund a school in a way that, you just get by, and all the guys and all the girls and all the people up on the top side getting paid the best, not the teachers. Teachers don't get paid. It's it's the people that run to run your school district or whatever. The people in the upper governments of your state that are controlling the educational board, those are the people making the money. They're banking like crazy. I mean, listen, yesterday, my wife watches NCAA. She's a Kentucky Wildcats fan. And, and after that, I'm listening to a news report after she watched her game, and where the FBI is spending millions of dollars tracking NCAA coaches as to whether they might have possibly bought these players, making NCAA and the colleges millions and millions of fucking dollars as to whether the coaches might have bought them a $20 meal. I mean, really? Is that where the resources of our government legal system should go? If the NCAA has a problem with their coaches, maybe they should spend their millions of dollars tracking their coaches instead of the FBI, which is funded by taxpayer money. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, that's off to the side, but that is an example. That is a pure ass example of where the money is going. We got to stop this, man. We got to stop this waste. You know, sideshow. All sideshow. It's like Sideshow Bob. Everything's Sideshow Bob business. So anyway, you know, with all of that in mind, Miami-Dade, Broward, and everybody else, they went into a situation where they were asking the police in order to up their funding because, you know, if all your students are constantly getting arrested for crimes, be it felony or misdemeanor, it affects your funding. So the district entered into a relationship with the local police force, concluded a deal that would ensure the police would stop arresting so many of their students. They began filtering students. Here, I'll read a media advisory that was put out in 2012. February 15, 2012. Miami-Dade Public Schools, John Schuster. Miami-Dade School Police was recently commended by the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice for dramatically decreasing school delinquency in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Now, why was that? Because there was a deal made that the police would stop arresting the students for doing stupid shit. MSDS PD has distinction of decreasing school-related juvenile delinquency by an impressive 60%. Well, it's not like the kids stopped being delinquent. They just stopped arresting them. So within a year or two, you know, the surrounding communities began to notice the change in Miami-Dade's fortunes from government grants and all that kind of stuff and government funding into the schools, which included a huge influx of money. And the Broward County decided that it was time to enter into a very similar deal with their local police force, in which the Broward County School District Superintendent entered into a political agreement with Broward County law enforcement officials to stop arresting students for crimes. I mean, it's a pretty simple motive. The school administrators wanted to improve their statistics, gain state and federal grant money for improvements therein into their schools. It wasn't an arbitrary change. It was a well-planned, fundamental, and monetary change that was done to the school. You know, you can go up to Scribe D and find that collaborative agreement on school discipline and how the police would handle it. So I got to be sure that you probably see that there has been a problem with the police in South Florida and Tampa, you know, entering into these deals with socially with the local school districts to kind of leave the kids alone. I mean, in a very real way, these new policies made public school students above the law in order to maintain the funding. No matter how it conflicted with whatever these kids may have legally or whatever laws they may have been breaking. You know, it kind of started out with the police were excusing the misdemeanors, but soon they were just excusing felonies, violent crimes, assault, bullying, literal outright gang attacks on like a single student on the playground. They were just excusing it, avoiding it, not seeing it on purpose. there's I think it's a site or whatever. I got this bit from the site The Last Refuge, and I'll quote this. Over the time, even the most severe unlawful contract was being filtered by the responding police. We found out about when 6 cops blew the whistle on several criminal conduct that they were being instructed to hide. The sheriff and police chief were telling street cops and school cops to ignore ever worsening criminal conduct on these campuses. The police were in a bind. They were encountering evidence of criminal conduct, yet they had to hide the conduct, not arrest the students involved. There were examples of burglary, robbery, violence, where the police had to hide and recover evidence in order to get the kids away without reports. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Go Google The Last Resort and find that. And there's plenty of pictures you can find of like Israel and Clinton and Runcie. But, when it comes to these schools, even my own school, I had to deal, here we're in the middle of nowhere out here where I'm at. But, there's still a rot testing program. They don't teach children any actual knowledge. They just say, here, you got to learn the answers to all these questions for 12 years, and then you're out of here. And hopefully you can freaking read. And that's kind of how that works. So, with all that being said, the Florida gangs, I used to live in Florida. The gangs are everywhere in the bigger cities. It's one of the reasons I moved away from Florida. It's hard to even get away from the gangs. You can buy crack by the dumpster at any 7-Eleven in Florida if you want to. I've seen it going down. They sell crack pipes in 7-Eleven in Florida. So, we look at the school shooting. Excuse me, I got to breathe and take a drink. But I'm sure you can now see that what we're looking at right now is the 11th hour. Now, I could go through all this and go through it and go through it. But quite honestly, anybody that's even bothering to listen to me, which is what, 14 freaking people, already know all this. You already know this. It's the 11th hour. I feel like a Branch Davidian on the 18th of April. And you should too. The left side socialists, they're going to get something out of it this time. There's no way we're going to stop this. Unless you just want to go out into the world and find everyone under 25 and just slap the shit out of their faces. I guess. I don't know. I guess violence just begets violence, but, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? I'm an old man. I'm sure most of the people that agree with anything I say are old men and women too. But here's the problem. I may be an old man, but I raised my child. You raised your children. How did they become like this? Were we like this when we were kids? I don't know. I remember I was a rebel and I was a pain in the ass. I played music, started fires, and drank a lot, and did drugs, and caused trouble, and had a hell of a good time through the 80s. Generally, the only people that have the kind of, I don't know, the socialist bent, I was never on welfare or food stamps or anything. I always made my own way. But generally, the only people that I have ever noticed that seem extremely threatened by the right are the people that don't do a damn thing. They're if they're getting by, it's probably on some kind of welfare to a large degree. Not everybody, maybe, but to a large degree. You know, I look around my own community and you drive around and you see, you can spot every welfare whore on the freaking planet because they're sitting on the porch at 3 in the afternoon, half dressed, drinking some iced tea and doing nothing. And you come by the next day at, I don't know, 9, they're still there. And then maybe the next day at 8, they're still there. Well, they obviously don't have a freaking job. And I live in a community that we have factories moving away because they can't find anybody to go to work. Even though every factory in my area has absolutely suspended the drug test, they still can't find anybody to come to work. They'll hire somebody and they'll stay for 2 days because it's boring. I mean, it's not a video game. It's a job. You know, it's like you're 21 years old. You have absolutely no other skill than World of Warcraft or shoot 'em up video games. You likely just barely finished high school. Anybody that's in college or getting a higher education isn't interested in these jobs anyway. So you go and get this job, and it's boring. It's boring. There's nothing to do. It's numbing my mind. That's kind of what factory work does. It numbs your mind. So you got to learn to play games and stuff like that inside of your head. And most of these factories now are not American factories. They're Japanese factories or German factories or Taiwanese factories or Chinese factories or whatever kind of factory. And they just keep... What?
I was going to say, I used to sing the score to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, my wife does. Yeah, I used to... Liz goes, when she was working in the factory, she used to sing the whole score to Jesus Christ Superstar to get herself through a ship. I mean, it's like, if you don't have a skill... Never bothered to get a skill. Never bothered to try anything. Never went to a trade school. Never went to a college. You just barely graduated high school on your 5 joint a day program and come out of there and expect anything better than a fast food job or a factory job. You are seriously somehow screwed up in the head. That's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get. If what the hell did you expect? To be offered a bank manager job? Oh no, I want to be the lead scientist at the physics lab at Johns Hopkins, which actually doesn't exist. I want to be a game programmer, but I never learned any kind of programming code because I was too lazy to actually take any math classes or get through a math class or anything else. I mean, see, the stupidity of this is just mind-numbing and drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. Even my own kid. I couldn't. It was all I could do to get her through school. It was like, finish school. Let's move on. Let's get an education. Let's go do something. Is it the parents' fault? Maybe it was my fault. I don't know. Maybe I protected her too much. I don't know. But her boyfriend is not much better, and he was raised way different than Ariel. And he's kind of the same. Life is video games, and how many jobs can we quit in a month? I mean, it's just an example, just however you are, I mean, when I was their age, I made my money through music. That's kind of what I did, but I never went starving. I never used welfare. I never got food stamps. I never anything. You know, I had a crappy little car. I got around the country like that. If it wasn't a hitchhiking, had a guitar on my back, I'd play music in a band or a club. This is all through the 80s. And if I couldn't do that, I'd take $50 and go to like one of those inner city, I'd be in the city and I'd go to like one of those import stores. I'd buy a bunch of these brass plant stands and put them together. And then I'd go into town and sell them for about $5 more than I made them for. And then I'd end the day with, more money than I started with, and I'd go back to the place the next day and buy some other stuff and put them in my car and just drive around and, basically pedal the crap out of my car to make some money. And when I had enough money to get to the next city, that's what I did. I didn't go to food stamps or welfare. But anyway, that's me. That's not for everybody. I've been homeless. I've slept in my car. I remember for a year, my home was my car and a storage shelter, which I kept my crap in the storage shelter, and I slept in the back of my Chevette. It wasn't all that uncomfortable either, especially, if the climate wasn't too bad. Just kind of open the bag, pull in at a rest stop. My life wasn't about my belongings or my possessions. My life was about just getting to the next day and having a little fun or whatever. See what I'm saying? But you will never find a kid that'll do that today. I don't think, anyway. All right, anyway. I'm not here to bully any kids that have been involved in a shooting or anything. But I will say, quite honestly, I feel like a branch, due to the media and the way the media is acting. I mean, they're cutting channels, they're cutting Twitters, they're cutting Facebooks. It is literally like the entire status quo has put me as an American citizen, and I'm sure the rest of you guys out there, where you just feel like this is April 18th and you're a Branch Davidian. Anyway, that's all I got to say today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. I'm out of here. I'm going to stop this and watch the whole thing become demonetized because I told the truth.